गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि नतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुञ्जविहारी जय राधा माधव कुञ्जविहारी जय गोपीजनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन नन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय वृंदावन धाम कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय वृंदावन धाम जय राधे श्याम ललिता विशाखा जयो राधेश्याम जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत श्री श्रीमद् एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन बीबीटी फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद श्रील गौर किशोरदास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। जय विष्णुपाद श्रील सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। जय विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्रील जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ सद गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नमाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपिका श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री वृंदावन मायपुर धाम की जय। गंगामयी यमुनामयी की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन वात्तमान गुरु वृंद की जय। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरे हरे बोल। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome everyone. Today we are studying together 7th chapter, Knowledge of the Absolute, verse number 13. Tribhir guṇa-mayaiḥ bhāvair.
Tribhir guṇa-mayaiḥ bhāvair.
ebhiḥ sarvam idam jagat.
ebhiḥ sarvam idam jagat.
mohitam nābhijānāti.
mohitam nābhijānāti.
mam ebhiḥ param avyayam.
ebhiḥ param avyayam.
Tribhir guṇa-mayaiḥ bhāvair.
Tribhir guṇa-mayaiḥ bhāvair.
ebhiḥ sarvam idam jagat.
ebhiḥ sarvam idam jagat.
mohitam nābhijānāti.
mohitam nābhijānāti.
mam ebhiḥ param avyayam.
ebhiḥ param avyayam.
Tribhir guṇa-mayaiḥ bhāvair.
Tribhir guṇa-mayaiḥ bhāvair.
ebhiḥ sarvam idam jagat.
ebhiḥ sarvam idam jagat.
mohitam nābhijānāti.
mohitam nābhijānāti.
mam ebhiḥ param avyayam.
ebhiḥ param avyayam. Tribhir guṇa-mayaiḥ bhāvair. ebhiḥ sarvam idam jagat. mohitam nābhijānāti. ebhiḥ param avyayam. बोलो प्रभु जी माताजी।
Tribhir guṇa-mayaiḥ bhāvair.
ebhiḥ sarvam idam jagat. mohitam nābhijānāti. ebhiḥ param avyayam.
Word to word translation. Tribhiḥ,
Tribhiḥ.
three. guṇa-mayaiḥ,
guṇa-mayaiḥ.
consisting of the gunas.
Consisting of the gunas.
bhāvaiḥ,
bhāvaiḥ.
by the states of the being.
By the states of the being.
ebhiḥ,
ebhiḥ.
all these. sarvam,
Sarvam.
whole.
Whole.
idam,
Idam.
this. jagat,
Jagat.
universe, mohitam,
mohitam,
deluded,
deluded,
nābhijānāti,
nābhijānāti,
does not know,
does not know,
mam,
mam,
me,
me,
ebhiḥ,
ebhiḥ,
above these, param,
param,
the supreme,
supreme,
avyayam,
avyayam,
inexhaustible.
inexhaustible.
Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Purport: the whole world is enchanted by the three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes cannot understand that transcendental to this material nature is the Supreme Lord, Kṛṣṇa. Every living entity under the influence of material nature has a particular type of body and a particular type of physiological and biological activities accordingly. There are four classes of men functioning in the three modes of nature. Those who are purely in the mode of goodness are called Brahmanas. Those who are purely in the mode of passion are called Kshatriyas. Those who are in the modes of both passion and ignorance are called Vaishyas. Those who are completely in ignorance are called Sudras. And those who are less than that are animals or animal life. However, these designations are not permanent. I may be either a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporary. But although life is temporary and we do not know what we are going to be in the next life, by the spell of this illusionary energy, we consider ourselves in the terms of this bodily conception of life, and we thus think that we are American, Indian, Russian, or a Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is behind all these modes. So Lord Kṛṣṇa says that the living entities deluded by these three modes of nature do not understand that behind the material background is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many different kinds of living entities: human beings, demigods, animals, etc. And each and every one of them is under the influence of the material nature, and all of them have forgotten the transcendental personality of Godhead. Those who are in the mode of passion and ignorance, and even those who are in the mode of goodness, cannot go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord in His personal feature, which possesses all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation. Even when those who are in goodness cannot understand, what hope is there for those in passion and ignorance? Kṛṣṇa consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Kṛṣṇa consciousness are actually liberated. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Jayo Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpa tarubhyasya kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Welcome everyone. Before I begin, thank you for the opportunity to study and share with you. Today we are reading and studying knowledge of the Absolute. This is the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And from this chapter onwards, the 6 chapters, they describe the Bhakti Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita. As we know, in the Bhagavad Gita, it's like a sandwich. The first 6 chapters describe about the Karma Yoga. The middle 6 chapters talk about the Bhakti Yoga. And the last 6 chapters talk about the Jnana Yoga. So, although in all the chapters, Kṛṣṇa brings us closer to Bhakti, in these 6 chapters, exclusively, Kṛṣṇa is going to talk about pure devotional service. So, Bhakti means knowing Kṛṣṇa and his energies and how they are acting. So, in the 7:30, the last verse of this chapter, Kṛṣṇa says, those who are in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So he's saying that anyone who is conscious of me, they know that I am the governing principle behind the material and spiritual manifestation, and also I am the head of all the demigods, and all sacrifices should lead to me. And when they understand that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the success. Now, in this particular verse, we see starting from the 12th, 12, 13, 14, they specifically talk about the modes of material nature. And 13, Kṛṣṇa is saying that, he's talking about how these three modes, the Prakriti, is putting everyone in illusion, right? What are the three modes? Goodness, passion, and ignorance. So this is putting everyone in illusion, and because of this illusion, one doesn't know Kṛṣṇa, who is beyond the modes and who is inexhaustible. So that means that Kṛṣṇa is concealed. That means he is covered, but he is not contained. That means the modes come from Kṛṣṇa, but the modes cannot cover Kṛṣṇa. Now we will discuss a little bit about the three modes, and then we will see the example, what Prabhupada is talking about, how different living entities are under the modes. We'll take an example from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then we will study how we can receive Kṛṣṇa's mercy. Now, as we just heard, like how Kṛṣṇa is telling that everyone in this material world is deluded, and which means these modes are making a living entity to forget Kṛṣṇa, right? Now, how does the modes affect the living entity that they forget Kṛṣṇa? They cover the perception itself. Like, for example, if I have glasses, like some of you have glasses. Now, if the glasses are clear, then we can see the vision is clear, right? But if it's tinged with red color, so whatever we see, the experience is red in color. If it's covered by yellow, then we see everything yellow. Or if it is covered by black, then everything we see is black. So similarly, our consciousness is tinged by these modes. And because of that, our perceptions differ. And if you go further chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, especially in the Jnana Yoga section, chapter 14, 13, where Kṛṣṇa talks about the modes of material nature. And Kṛṣṇa tells that, how these modes are always in competition, Not that if you have acquired mode of goodness, you will always remain as goodness. No. There is always a competition between goodness, passion, and ignorance. And because of that competition, someone wins and someone doesn't. And the living entity also act in that particular platform. And because of that constant combination, the living entity is pulled up in the goodness, passion, and ignorance. Even if you take a day, the day also categorically we can divide it. The morning is usually in goodness, but as it moves to the noon, to the evening, it's more passionate. And as it falls to the night, it's more ignorance. And then Kṛṣṇa tells about how the different kinds of foods that we select can be in the three modes, right? And how there can be different acts of charity that can be in the three modes. Different kinds of sacrifices that we perform can be in the three modes. So even the prescribed duties, one can carry out the prescribed duties even in the three modes. And also the Varnashram system, the division of the living entities based on their modes, they are divided. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sutra. Here Prabhupada is talking about the predominant mode, if is goodness, usually people tend towards the Brahmanical qualities. If the predominating mode is passion, they usually tend to have this Rajasic, so they become administrators, Kshatriyas. And if they have a mix of both passion and ignorance, they usually go into this mercantile, like Vaishyas. And if they're predominated by ignorance, usually they come into the Sudras. And not only that, this illusion is also pushing us to that extent that our bodily conception has become very strong, right? And because of the bodily conception that these modes impose upon us, we start identifying. Someone might be born, like Prabhupada here is giving that someone is born in America, they consider them American. Someone born in the woman's body, they're considering woman. Although these distinctions are there, but this is not our eternal nature. Tradition states the jiva is under the three modes. So, but then who is above the modes? Here Kṛṣṇa says that nābhijānāti. No one knows that I am above the modes. Why they are not able to know about the modes? Because Kṛṣṇa is concealed. And how you can have an access to Kṛṣṇa is only through the bhakti, is only through the taking shelter, taking surrender. Then we will come back in a minute about this point. So, Srila Prabhupada often quotes this verse, Jalaja nava lakshani sthavarani laksha vimasyati krimayo rudra sankyasa prakisam dasa lakshani trimisal lakshani pravasa chatur lakshani manushaha. So, out of 8.4 million species, how they are divided? 9 lakh species are living in the water, which are aquatics. And there are 2 lakh living entities are non-moving living entities, which are especially the trees and the plants. And then there are 1 lakh living entities, which are insects and reptiles. And there are 1 lakh species of birds. And as far as concerned about others, there are like 3 lakhs and 4 lakhs are human beings. Now in this human species also 4 lakhs, there are demigods, kimpurushas, gandharvas. There are many categories, subcategories of the human beings. Now, so we see that how based on our desire and our karma, we are acquiring a certain body, right? And our desire are also affected by these modes. And because of that, we are traveling in this 8.4 million species of life. Now, the Lord Brahma is considered most intelligent, isn't it? But even he gets bewildered. In Vrindavan itself, we hear this pastime, that when Aghasur was killed, then the demigods were celebrating. Oh, Aghasur was killed. So Brahma came to know and came to see, and then he thought, how this little boy, little cowherd boy, how could he kill the Aghasura? So let me test him. Is he really my Lord? Is he my Supreme Personality of Godhead? So he comes, he steals away the cowherd boys and the calves, and we know the entire pastime. This is called Brahma Vimohana Lila. So even Brahma get illusion, Brahma get bewildered by Kṛṣṇa's illusion. But when he realizes his mistake, there's a beautiful prayer that Brahma sings. One second. I'm just going to read the translation. My Lord, just see my uncivilized impudence. To test your power, I try to extend my illusionary potency to cover you, the unlimited and perennial super soul, who bewilder even the master of illusion. What am I compared to you? I'm just like a small spark in the presence of great fire. So even the great demigods who are actually empowered by the Lord for the creation, they can also fall under the illusion because they are also affected by this mode of passion. Brahma is primarily working under the mode of passion. And we see in the second canto, Bhagavatam, when Brahma was empowered to create the universe, He actually makes a prayer. He submits a prayer, let I don't be falling into this illusion. But still, he falls into this illusion. But of course, they set examples for us to understand that how powerful is this illusion, that how careful we have to be, that, even the Creator cannot know Kṛṣṇa. But how can he be known? He can be known only by devotional service. And another aspect of this illusion is, in the second canto, there is a beautiful verse, 292. This is from the 9th chapter. Bahurupa iva bhati mayaya bahurupaya ramamanyo guneshu asya maham aham iti manyate. Sorry, my Sanskrit is not that great. Please forgive me. So the illusionary, the living entity which is under the illusion is appearing in different forms, just like what we were talking about, 8.4 million species, And it's not only accepting the illusion, but it also tries to enjoy the material nature and started to have the misconceptions, everything in terms of I and mine, right? So you see the extent of this illusion created by this Prakriti. That first of all, it creates a wrong perception over us. And because of that, we desire. And we are put into different species. And we try to enjoy in those species. And then we are again misconceived, thinking that everything is for me and my enjoyment. Right? So the illusion is very, very deep. Now, an example that we can talk about, say for example, someone is addicted to alcohol. Okay? So he's primarily in mode of ignorance, right? Now, after some time, he may give up his addiction and then he thinks that, okay, now I have to work, I have to, create a family, I have to work for my family, make a big house and, have a prestige in the society. So he's shifted from mode of ignorance to mode of passion. Then after some time, he's so tired and then he thinks that, no, I want some peace. Let me meditate and get into meditational aspects. And then he shifts himself to mode of goodness. But still, he's bounded. He's never released. He may be jumping from one mode to another mode, but he's not released from the modes itself. But how can you get yourself out of the modes? Only by the practice of bhakti. This is a beautiful set of verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, Divine and Divinity. So what is the power of the bhakti? By hearing and chanting, how we can actually come out of these modes. I'll read you a set of verses, like 5 verses. Shrinvatam swa kata Kṛṣṇa punya shravana kirtana hridayantasto hi abhadrani vinudoti shrut satam nashtaprayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki tada rajasthamo bhava kamalobhas dayaschaye cheta eter anavidham sthitam satve prasidati evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogatha bhagavat tat vignanam mukta sangasya jayate biyante hridaya grantasti chidante sarva samsaya krishnanti chasme karmani drishta etamanishware. Sri Kṛṣṇa, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So what happens when we come to the bhakti process? What is the first thing what we are doing? We are engaged in chanting and hearing, right? Shravanam and Kirtanam. And by doing that, Kṛṣṇa and as Paramatma in the heart, he takes personal charge and he starts to clean away our material desire. Then, by regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with the transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So, Shravan Kirtan will lead us to engage in devotional service, right? Devotional service to the book Bhagavat and the person Bhagavat. And by doing that, again, whatever more dirt is there, it's cleansed out. And not only that, but actually we will be established in the truth that Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we have this eternal relationship with Him. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of the nature, modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, then he becomes completely happy. Now the goodness here mentioned is not the mode of goodness, but it is the transcendental goodness. It is sattva gun. The next stage of the sattva gun, like the transcendental goodness. So what is happening? So whenever that loving devotional service is established in the heart, automatically the effects of the passion and ignorance comes down. And then we will be established in the unalloyed devotional service. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So he develops detachment and he develops complete understanding of who Kṛṣṇa is and how all his energies are working. And he is established in the devotional service. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings are cut to the pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as a master. So what is happening? Whatever the knots, these motes are knotted in our hearts, that is being cut. And all the misgivings to understand, to get established in our real relationship with Kṛṣṇa is established, and all misgivings are gone. Then what happens? We will be able to see who the master and who the servant is. So this is the power of the bhakti. And I was thinking that, this is a very high level of realization, right? So how a beginner devotee, just like me, then how we can experience. Then I was thinking of my personal, experiences in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, which actually leave a very significant mark and inspire me in my Kṛṣṇa consciousness. There are many, but just one I wanted to share. I came to Kṛṣṇa consciousness during my college time. So I was a student. This was outside India. So whenever we used to come on the weekends to the city, we used to see the Harinam party. And I already started going to the temple, but somehow I'm very afraid of the Harinam party. I don't want them to pull me into the Harinam party. So whenever I used to see the Harinam party, I used to run away, And of course, so many misconceptions, like thinking that what will people think of me when I'm singing and dancing on the street. So anyways, those kind of fears were there. So I continued like that for 2 years. And after that, I moved into the temple. There was an opportunity to live in the temple ashram. So this was my first week in the temple ashram. And I was helping my temple president's wife. We were making some flower vases. My ashram leader comes and she turns to my ashram leader and tells, all the girls in the ashram, they have to go to the Harinam every week. And it was like a bomb dropped in my heart. And when I was moving into the ashram also, I prepared my mind, I'll do any service except going on to the Harinam. Except on Harinam, I'll do any kind of service, but not on Harinam. So a bomb dropped in my heart as soon as she told that all the girls from, once a week they have to go to Harinam. So I was like, okay, I didn't say anything. Then Mataji turns to me and she was like, so you're going, right? I was like, yes, I'm going, And then again I made a plan, immediately. My mind made a plan. Okay, this week I will go. But next week I will say that I have pain in my leg, I'm not going. So anyways, I went with a heavy heart. I didn't want it to go, but just to follow the authority, I went with a very big heart to Harinam. I dragged myself basically to the city. And of course I had so many misconceptions, so many fears. As soon as the Harinam started, I forgot everything. All my fears, all my misconceptions. I was so happily singing and chanting and dancing in the Harinam. And not only that, I still remember every Friday I used to look forward. When is the Friday coming? When can I go? So of course when I left the country, my visa ran out and I needed to come back. And many times I keep recalling this experience, like how Kṛṣṇa gave me that taste. I didn't have the taste. I am pretty much occupied in my own modes, my passion, my ignorance. But as soon as I made one little move, like, someone dragged me actually. I didn't even make the move. But Kṛṣṇa opened that, the bliss of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. He gave me that taste for the Harinam. Although still I am a struggler chanter, inattentive rounds, I'm trying to work on it. But still, I have that taste. Even in the temple we see, when the festival comes, how devotees sit down and make garlands for hours and hours and hours. How many preparations they cook in the kitchen. And, just now we finished marathon. So many devotees, like whole 8 weeks or 7 weeks, morning to night they were working. Why? Because Kṛṣṇa is giving that taste, Although we are practicing devotees, we are affected by the modes. But as soon as we come in touch with bhakti, Kṛṣṇa gives that taste. He inspires us to move forward towards him, isn't it? And this is our inspiration in bhakti, right? So again, we see how Kṛṣṇa's hand in our lives. We may not be liberated at this point, but the very fact that we have these experiences and we have taste for, he's helping us to develop that taste for Kṛṣṇa consciousness. It shows that how he's above the modes. Although we are in the modes, we are getting access to him only through the medium of bhakti. No other way. And Uddhava, he is praying. He makes a very beautiful prayer. Recently I was reading about this prayer. I just wanted to share. This is from the 11th canto, 19th chapter. He prays, "My dear Lord, for one who is being tormented on the terrible path of birth and death and is constantly overwhelmed by the threefold miseries, I do not see any possible shelter other than your 2 lotus feet, which are just like refreshing umbrella that pours down showers of delicious nectar." So Kṛṣṇa's lotus feet is like umbrellas. And normally umbrellas they stop the rain. But these umbrellas are different. They pour nectar, So, and then they shower on those ones even who are tormented by the threefold miseries. And here, Srila Prabhupada's disciples writes in the purports that, one side the living entity is defeated by the onslaught of the material nature, which we are. And on the other side, there is the downpour of Kṛṣṇa conscious nectar, So, by our intelligence, we should look beyond the dull material body and nonsensical material mind to observe the unlimited shower of the blissful nectar coming from the 2 lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa. then our real good fortune will begin. I really thought that this is such a deep point, how the devotees are making us to think that, go beyond the body, go beyond the material mind, but see for the opportunities. There is nectar that is coming from Krishna's lotus feet, and that is what we have to crave for. And how blessed are we that, we have this association who will remind us this every time, right? Normally, in the material world, they may tell you once, they may tell you twice, but in Krishna consciousness, every day is a reminder. Some devotee tells, how Krishna consciousness is so beautiful, how important it is to practice, and how blissful is this to, this moves us. So what is our duty? How can we do the same? We have to preach. We have to preach this message. Because Vyasadeva, he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam, understanding that only this bhakti, devotional process, will help people to mitigate their material problems. There is no other way. He says, Anatto pasham sakshat bhakti yogam adokshaje lokasya janato vidvams chakre satvatam samhitam. So the material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous, that means that, it's like a covering. They're not really real, but we identify them as so real, isn't it? And can be directly mitigated by linking the process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature which is in relation to this supreme truth. So people don't know. They're always looking for happiness. We are also looking for happiness. But there are devotees who interfered in our lives, and they gave us this opportunity to come in touch with bhakti, right? And now we are understanding, or that realization is somewhere dawning, that, okay, I think I'm suffering. Actually, I'm suffering, Now, the solution is only by becoming Krishna conscious. Why? Because this is our eternal constitutional position, to be happy. And how can you be happy? To be always engaged in Krishna's service. But people outside, they don't know this solution. So what we can do? We can preach. We can preach by many different ways. The main is distribute books. Because someone gets a book, then they understand, I may be not intelligent enough to explain them. But when they get the book, they get access to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada gives many, many nice examples. He makes it, the most complicated verse is very easy to understand. So they need an access to Srila Prabhupada's books. Another way is give them prasad, feed them prasad, Or you bring them to temple, show them the deities. How beautiful is Krishna. Show them Krishna's lotus feet. This is umbrellas, they're raining down, pouring down the nectar, right? And also by our personal examples, refining our bhakti every day, That also will inspire people, And I keep thinking about this point that, how many examples I have around, I don't change just because I am lethargic. But actually, if I want to take inspiration, I have so many examples. The whole society is full of examples. So there is a way out to not to be deluded by these three modes. And Krishna will continue this in the 7.14, saying that, although these three modes are very difficult, but they can be surpassed. By how? By taking shelter of me. And Prabhupada gives an example also, like, the dog might not be, there is a dog barking. The dog may not be listening to us because we are strangers to it. But the dog will listen to the master, right? So the Prakriti, the material nature may be very harsh on us. But as we take shelter of Krishna, they will understand, okay, they're friends, I should not torment. I should help them come closer to Kṛṣṇa. So, so here, Prabhupada at the conclusion, he says that, how Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature. And those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. So, why we are liberated? Because, that this is where mukti means where you are situated in your eternal constitutional position. Mukti doesn't mean that, just negation of the material miseries, but it's actually reviving who you are. And that's why this is transcendental. Bhakti is transcendental. So we will all aspire and pray that, we can make endeavors to come close to Kṛṣṇa and not get affected by these illusions by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So are there any questions, corrections? Please, Hare Krishna. And forgive me for my shortcomings. Thank you.
You mentioned that Bhagavad Gita is divided into three parts, you said.
Yes.
Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga.
No, Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga. Then Bhakti Yoga.
Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga.
First 6 chapters are Karma Yoga. The middle 6 chapters talk emphasis on unalloyed devotional service, so Bhakti Yoga.
Okay.
The last 6 are Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Are there any more questions or corrections? Or anyone liked any point that you want to share? Anything that you are inspired? Nothing? No one? So if not, then we'll close here. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam